Kimberley Rock Monitors are some of the coolest lizards on the entire planet, and they make great pets too. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a full guide on the care and husbandry of this amazing species so you can be ready to bring one into your home. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time, I make videos on anything and everything reptiles and amphibians, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are into that sort of thing. Also, a quick disclaimer before we get started. I am by no means claiming to be an expert on this species, not even close. I am going to be simply sharing what has worked for me and what hopefully should work for you guys as well. Lastly, to address the elephant in the room, why is my Kimberley Rock Monitor not out with me? Normally when I do these care guides, I like to have the actual animal out with me, but if you guys have noticed, it's been more than a month since my last video, and it's because every time I want to film this video, something goes wrong. Either I have an issue with the camera, the monitor just doesn't want to be out, which will happen. He's honestly pretty tame and pretty handleable, but there are days where he just does not want to come out, and then he'll come out the day after when I'm not, don't have time to film, and we'll hang out and stuff. But this time it's actually about to be lights out for him in about an hour. And usually around this time is when he kind of goes into hiding, and he kind of just already starts his bedtime routine, if you will. So I wasn't gonna wake him up just to film this video, but I know if I don't film it today, it'll probably be another week until I have a chance to film a video, because I have been very, very busy lately. But all that to say, he will not be in this video, but there will be tons of B-roll of him out. His name is Dragonite, by the way, and he is the best. But anyways, without further ado, guys, let's get into the care guide. The first thing we'll talk about today is the enclosure size. Unlike most species of snakes, and honestly most species of lizards, you cannot just buy a large enclosure and hope that your baby will grow into it. It simply will not work. These lizards need tight crevices in order to feel safe and secure, and a large enclosure with a lot of open space is going to stress the hell out of it. And as we all know, stress can lead to a myriad of other problems, especially when you're talking about reptiles. When I first got Dragonite, I kept him in a 3x2x3, and he was around 4 months old, and honestly it worked really great for me, but I think I got a little bit lucky, if I can be really honest with you guys. He has always been very bold, and therefore he didn't get stressed out. But honestly, for babies, I would recommend a 20-gallon tank. These lizards are born pretty small, so they don't need a huge enclosure. They just need something that they can feel safe and secure in. If you do opt out for glass, like a glass enclosure, I would even black out 3 of the sides, just so they feel a bit safer. Adult Kimberley Rock Monitors will be about 2 to 3 feet long, with males typically being a little bit larger. And while that does sound pretty big, a lot of that length is going to be their insanely long tail. Dragonite, my Kimberley Rock Monitor, is about 10 months old, and he's going to keep growing a little bit. I'm pretty sure he's a male, but not 100% certain yet. He's going to keep growing a little bit, but he's really not going to get that much larger than he is right now. He's probably going to bulk up a little bit more and maybe get a little bit longer, but these are really not that big of lizards. That being said, they are a monitor, so they are very active, so they're still going to need a pretty large enclosure. In my opinion, the minimum is a 4x2x4 for adults, but you can go larger than that if you want, and they will definitely make use of any of that extra room that you give them, whether it be vertically or horizontally. I keep Dragonite in a 4x2x6, so it's a pretty tall enclosure, but he uses every single square inch of it, the top, the bottom, the sides, everything. If I doubled his enclosure size, he would probably use all of it. So be generous when picking an enclosure size for your Kimberley Rock Monitor. Next, we're going to talk about temperature and humidity. Providing the proper temperature and humidity is very important in ensuring the overall health and well-being of your Kimberley Rock Monitor. If your parameters are off, it could lead to a ton of problems, including but not limited to respiratory infections, refusal to eat, lethargy, trouble digesting, trouble shedding, and just a ton of other issues that could potentially lead to the death of your animal. In previous care guides for different other species, I usually just refer to the ambient temperatures, which of course refers to the air temperature in the enclosure. Today I'll be talking about that, but also basking temperature, which essentially just refers to the surface of a certain object. So instead of getting measured with, like these Govee thermometers that I have, you will use like a temperature gun in order to measure it. Both of these two things are going to be very, very important for your Kimberley Rock Monitor. Like you would for any other reptile, you will need to provide a hot end and a cooler end in order so that they can properly thermoregulate their bodies. As far as what temperatures, I offer between 95 and 105 on the hot end, and the cool end is between 80 to 85 degrees. As far as basking temperatures, it will depend on the life stage of your Kimberley Rock Monitor. For hatchlings, it should be between 125 and 140 degrees, and 130 to 150 for adults. I offer a night drop in which the temperature gets down to 72, 74 degrees. You can probably go a little bit lower, but there really isn't a need to. And then lastly, as far as humidity, they actually need it a bit more humid than you would expect just by looking at them. During the day, the humidity is usually between 40 to 55%. And at nighttime, it spikes up to about 60 or 70. This is obviously due to the lack of intense heat during the day. Next, we're going to talk about the substrate. If you're a beginner, substrate of course refers to the bedding at the bottom of the enclosure. And even though your Kimmy probably will not spend a ton of time at the bottom of the enclosure, that does not mean that the substrate is not important. You are going to need a substrate that holds water fairly well in order to increase the humidity levels throughout the enclosure. I'm personally using a 70-30 topsoil to clay sand mix that you can just get at Home Depot. And I also have a drainage layer of leca balls or leca balls. They're balls. They're balls made of leca. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm sure someone knows what I'm talking about. I also have springtails and isopods in the substrate that of course helps kill off any bacteria and also helps with the poop. Of course, you want to spot clean anytime that you see it, but honestly I haven't had to in a while because these things are just multiplying like crazy. And like every time I lift something up in the bottom of the enclosure, there's like 100 isopods just coming out. I should probably start selling them or something. I have so many. If you guys want isopods, let me know. I'll ship you guys some. But yeah, honestly, to the soil, I don't even mess with it that much. I probably add a bit of water to it once every couple weeks, and it's good. I have a PVC enclosure, so it holds the humidity much better than a glass enclosure would. Next, we're going to talk about lighting. This is super important because your Kimberley Rock Monitor is going to need a day and light cycle. These are diurnal lizards that will spend a lot of their time out during the day. So of course you're gonna have to make sure that they know when it is daytime. My lights go on at around 9 a.m. every single day, and they turn off around 7 p.m. So I'm currently doing 10 hours of daylight and about 14 hours of nighttime. you can do that, or you can go for an even 12-to-12 split. Either really is fine. Another thing that you're going to need to consider is that your Kimberley Rock Monitor will require UVB, and a pretty strong one at that. This is not negotiable like it is for kind of like certain snake species that you can kind of argue they don't need UVB. They will need UVB or they will die a very slow and agonizing death. As far as what kind of UVB, it really depends on the size of the enclosure. For hatchlings and any, kimmy in a smaller setup, a 6% UVB is fine, but as they get older and you move them into a larger setup, they are going to need something like a 12% UVB. Next, we're going to talk about decor and enrichment. So this is basically going to be all the things that we're going to put in the enclosure. For babies, it's really, really important that you provide them with kind of like a wood stack of sorts with very, very little room in between the flat pieces. This will essentially create crevices for the lizard to hide in. I cannot stress to you guys enough how important this is going to be in order for your lizard to feel happy and confident, especially as babies. You obviously want to make sure that the stack is very secure and that there are no moving parts. I know someone that actually lost a Kimberley Rock Monitor because the stack kind of malfunctioned or whatever, but you guys know exactly what happened, and the Kimberley Rock Monitor was crushed to death. Also, these guys feel most secure when the top part of their body and the bottom part of their body, their belly, I guess, it's both being touched by something. So again, make the stack as tight and as secure as possible. And another thing is you want the stack to have as many levels as possible so that they can choose the ideal temperature that they want to be at. As adults, you still want to offer the stack, but don't be surprised if they use it less often than they did as babies. And as adults, they'll typically use more so kind of like the branches and the stuff along the walls rather than the stack itself. But my boy still uses his stack pretty often, but not as often as he used to when he was a baby. Another thing, these are not geckos that can just climb anything. They're going to have to be able to dig their claws into it. So if you have a glass enclosure or even a PVC enclosure, you'll want to make sure that they have things that they can climb on. So for example, the sides of my enclosure, I have cork bark on it because he can climb that. I'm probably going to add more cork bark to it, kind of like I mentioned earlier in the video. I've just been so goddamn busy that I have not had time to, but I'm going to add more cork bark. I'm going to add more branches for him and just a few changes to honestly some of the enclosures here. But again, kind of besides the point. Of course, you'll also need to add a water dish for them to drink out of. Make sure you change the water dish frequently and you dechlorinate the water as well. You're also going to want to add just as many different textures and smells as you can to the enclosure. This can include things like leaf litter, bricks, moss, rocks, anything that's obviously safe for your reptile. Just throw it in there. They're super curious and they're gonna have a ton of fun with it. They're very, very intelligent creatures and they just absorb like any new stimuli in their enclosure. It's really, really awesome to see. That's why I actually throw in snake sheds every single time that one of my snakes sheds, because he goes crazy over it. He likes smelling it. Sometimes he'll like rip it apart. It's pretty funny. And then yeah, it's just really a lot of fun to see. So make the enclosure itself as enriching as possible. Next, we're going to talk about diet. Monitor lizards are very well known for being ferocious eaters, and the Kimberley Rock Monitor is no exception. You're going to want to offer a wide variety of food in order to make sure that they get all the nutrients that they need. The staple for my Kimmy is crickets. However, I do also offer the occasional pinky mouse, quail parts, chicks, eggs, whether that be scrambled or just flat out raw. Eggs are definitely his favorite. He goes crazy for that stuff. I've also heard that they absolutely love grasshoppers and locusts. So if you have a supplier for those insects, you can definitely offer that. Unfortunately, I don't know anyone near me that has them. If you guys know anyone near Miami, Florida, that sells them, let me know. I would definitely be interested in reaching out to that person. These guys are also notorious lizard eaters in the wild. So if you can get your hands on some feeder lizards, like maybe some brown anoles or some morning geckos or something like that, you can definitely try to offer that to them, see if they will eat it. I'm sure they'll probably love it. Also, it should go without saying, guys, please do not go outside and try to just catch these animals to offer it to your Kimberley Rock Monitor. That thing is going to be riddled with parasites, and you just do not want your lizard eating that. There's a reason why these animals live longer in captivity than they do in the wild. Also, I've offered Dragonite worms in the past, and he has never really shown any interest in them whatsoever. I'm not sure if this is a trend with this species or if that's just his personal preference, but something to keep in mind in case you do offer your kidney some worms and they don't take it. Also, you'll want to make sure to calcium dust your feeders at least once per week. It's going to be very, very important for them. You'll also want to make sure that the babies are eating about at least once a day. You're offering them food. And then as juveniles and adults, you can cut the frequency to about 2 to 3 times per week or something like every other day. Like I said before, they are diurnal, so you do want to offer them the food when they are most active. So offer them the food during the day. I typically feed my kidney about an hour or two after the lights go on, so they've had enough time to kind of just process that it is daytime and they're just absorbing the heat and getting ready for the day. That's usually when I offer them the food. I have noticed if I try to offer him food like maybe an hour before, Jesus Christ, an hour before the lights go off, he's usually not as ferocious when it comes to eating. He's probably just tired or just pissed off at me that I didn't feed him earlier, so he's just trying to spite me. One more thing, sometimes they won't eat in front of you. That is totally normal. Mine didn't eat in front of me for the longest time, and I was like freaking out because I thought he was gonna like not eating, but they usually eat in secrecy until you have like a really, really strong bond with them. Then they will feel more comfortable eating in front of you and even eating from your hand sometimes. Lastly, we're going to talk about their temperament and handling. Kimberley Rock Monitors are very, very intelligent. They're probably the most intelligent animal that I own. Well, reptile that I own. My dog is pretty smart, and my cat kind of, I love her, but still. But anyways, they're very curious creatures. They love exploring. But if you want an animal that you can handle and that's really like a high priority for you, do not get a Kimberley Rock Monitor. I'm not saying that this is an animal you won't ever be able to handle. I'm just saying that it's not a guarantee by any means like it would be for something like a corn snake or a bearded dragon, that you can pretty much just handle them and they'll be cool like the first day that you just meet them. It's probably gonna take some time, like a few weeks at a minimum, but most likely it's gonna take months of just working with them daily, building those positive threads, building that trust with them. You don't want to force handle them. There's a lot of things about it, but and this is not gonna, I'm not gonna dedicate this video to handling because it's probably just its own video in reality, and there's tons of people that have already made videos on handling monitors, so go check that out. But the point is, don't expect your monitor to be handleable right from the gate. If you do want it to get to that point, you're gonna have to put in a ton of work to get there. And this is an animal that doesn't really need to be handled. So you don't have to try and tame it down and get it to, crawl onto you and stuff like that. The lizard is perfectly fine being in its enclosure. But so if you're happy with, a display animal, beautiful. This is a perfect animal. If you want an animal you can handle, and you know that's kind of a deal breaker for you, don't go for this one, because like I said, it's not a guarantee. If you're fine with it either way and you're willing to put in the work and you would love to get your Kimmy handleable, it is definitely possible. My guy is honestly pretty good, and he used to be even way more handleable, but a few weeks ago, my freaking cat, she kind of jumped up like onto a chair I had in the reptile room and kind of just looked over him, and I saw the whole thing happen, and I was like, fuck, because like I knew that this was gonna just scare the shit out of him. He of course ran, like he saw this predator, and I didn't see him for like 4 or 5 days. Like the dude was just hiding, and then after he started coming out, it broke my heart, but he was like skittish around me, and then you know slowly he started kind of warming up and stuff. But yeah, it takes a lot to kind of build that trust, and it just can all go away like very quickly, which sucks. Like I'm actually still trying to get back to the point with him that I was before my cat scared the shit out of him. So that's fun, but he is doing a lot better. He let me take him out the other day, but before it was like automatic, where I would just open the cage and he'd just, you know, come out or whatever. And now it's kind of more so on his terms, which it usually is, but before his terms was always like, yeah, let's fucking play, which does suck. But just another thing, they also obviously have teeth and they can bite you. I haven't really even heard of them doing that to people. So, you know, even if they don't want to be handled, they'll probably just run away from you rather than try to bite you. And even so, if they were to bite you, their bites do not hurt. Mine bit me like a month ago. Did not hurt at all. Like they have such weak jaws. It seems like just the way they're shaped, it did not hurt at all, and it wasn't even like malicious or anything, so maybe that's why. It was kind of just, he was really hungry and I was feeding him from my hand, so he like got my thumb. He let go right away, like when he realized it was my thumb and not the egg he was going for. But yeah, it didn't hurt. So it's not like this is an animal that can hurt you or anything like that. Like they're way too small for that. But again, like I said, I know I'm beating a dead horse. Don't get this animal if your priority is something you can handle. That's the care guide, boys and girls. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it interesting and informative. If you learned something today, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. As always, if you guys have any questions or concerns, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Jesus Christ, he is so active today. He's usually not this active. It's a lot of fun to see. But anyways, that's all for today, guys. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy your reptiles.